Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. Welcome to our live question and answer class for American English pronunciation and American accent. Feel free to leave your questions at any time in the chat, and I'll be getting to those in just a moment. But at the beginning of class today, I want to talk a little bit more about our topic we've been covering lately, which is sounds versus spelling. And I want to use these words bureau and bury to talk about it. So bureau is definitely one of the top requested words I get here on the channel. It's got a couple of different correct pronunciations in English. It's a little bit challenging to pronounce because of the B-U-R letters, the sounds that those make. Then bury is a good example of how we can have the same letters and very different sounds. So first, let's look at the word bureau, where when you hear me saying bureau, I'm using the sound for this So some people use more of a tense sound here. Others will use more of a sound. That would kind of look like, sorry, I missed a letter here, or an IPA symbol. That would look like in the dictionary, bureau. And so bureau, I've rewritten it here for you with the letters Y-E-R. So thinking about bureau. And then the letters E-A-U, this comes from the French, they just say the O sound in English. And we use that as a diphthong, O, bureau. So the stress is on the first syllable, bureau. It's going to be long, and the second syllable, O, is going to be a little shorter. Be careful not to be too short, though, because it is a diphthong, O, so you want to relax and close the lips as you go. Not bureau, but bureau, bureau. You will also hear some native speakers say this word more like bureau, bureau. So in different regions of the U.S., different people say different things. So you can also have the sound here, more of a tense diphthong rather than just So bureau or bureau, bureau. It does still have that gliding y sound, and the second part of the word is the same. These are somewhat unusual pronunciations for the B-U-R. We guess we don't have a lot of words spelled that way, but we do have some other words like turn that have the sound, or burn, for example. So this bureau follows that pattern. When we get to the word bury, this has an unusual pattern where the letters U-R are saying the air diphthong. So we often write air with A-I-R or with A-R-E, like in this word bear. We do also spell it sometimes like this word bear. So whatever way helps you to visualize and think of this air diphthong in this word bury is going to be helpful for you. We again have first syllable stress. Bear is long and E is shorter. Make sure that you're careful not to make this more of an I, not bere or bera, but bury, bury. So even though it's unstressed, it still has that tense E sound. Okay. So thank you for this request. I'll turn now to your questions, and do feel free to ask about spelling and sounds, words, whatever is going to be most helpful for you as we move forward in terms of improving your pronunciation in English. Welcome. It's nice to see so many of you here this morning. So we have a question about the words or the phrase Espionage Act. Yes, there's been a lot of questions about the word espionage. Again, this is a word that comes from the French, but we have a slightly different pronunciation in English. So espionage. So let's break this one down for you. We have first syllable stress, and the letters ES say the same thing that the letter S says, the S sound. So that's the red tent vowel, and the S for the S. So I'll rewrite that here like S, espionage. So we have the P-I says the E sound and the P sound, espionage. The letter O says schwa or Then we have our nage. We have the letter A saying the A vowel, espionage. And the letters GE say the Z sound, like in garage or massage or measure. So this Z sound we'll talk about, espionage. I often rewrite that Z sound with the letters ZH because the Z sound is just like the sh in American English that we spell with the letters SH. And the symbol for that is a tall, skinny S. Basically, the Z sound and the sh sound have the same mouth position, but I just have my voice on when I say Z. The tongue is pulled back a little bit and the lips can be a little bit rounded. They don't have to be rounded, espionage. You just want to have enough room for air to come out on that. So espionage. Another thing to look out for is that in the pia, espionage, there can be a little gliding sound as we move from the E to the ia. We just naturally glide between those two. You won't see them put the glide symbol in the dictionary probably, but you just don't want a big break there. Rather pia, espionage. And then act, espionage act, or an act of espionage. So the act has the a vowel and the kt symbol, espionage act. Espionage act. So we do maybe link those a little bit, j'act, with that zh sound. Yeah, that's a great request. Thank you. I was actually intending to make a video about that, but now it'll be included in this class for those who are wondering, who've been seeing that in the news. I do often look to what's being talked about in the news because, of course, that's what people are talking about in conversation, and it's one of the ways we learn new words or words that we haven't really said before. Maybe we know them, but we haven't had to pronounce them. Suddenly we realize, oh, how do you say that word? So thank you for that request. Great. Okay. We have a question about how to pronounce to be characterized. So I do have a video for character. And probably, I don't know if I covered characterized there, but let's cover it here. It does contain the same sounds as character. Characterized and character have the same rhythm. So first, learning character will help you. We have first syllable stress, so characterized. Letters AR in this say the same. Sorry about that. A bird just hit my window. It shocked me. Letters AR say the air sound, just like we were talking about earlier. And the letters CH say the k sound. So I won't write them with CH. I'll rewrite that here like care, or it's the same as this word care. So making sure that you have a good air sound and you're open on that air. You'll see that here as characterized. So first syllable stress, care, and then character. We have either an I or I would say maybe a schwa here in that second syllable. Character. This T is not going to be a strong character. Neither will it be a full flap character. So just know that it's a little bit D-like character. We still have our tight back American R, and then our letter I does say the I. This E makes the I say its name. Character I. I'll write it this way. And then challenging here maybe is putting that Z and D together. Characterized. Zd. One strategy I would suggest for that is that if you have trouble saying characterized with the Z and D together, you can say characterized it and link them together. And in that case, it's easier to say the D because it kind of jumps onto the word it. Characterized it. That sometimes people seeing it, that helps. If people see it that way, it helps them to be able to say that D and Z together more easily. That characterized it. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much what I want to say about characterized. Hopefully that will help you. Do use the strategies I often talk about in our Word of the Day series, which is saying each syllable slowly and then speeding up. For example, characterized, characterized, characterized. And just notice how even when I said it slowly, I stretched the characterized, so that you can get the relative rhythm and keep that consistent for when you speed up the word. Thank you. That was a great question. Okay. I'll get to your other request in a moment. I'll just go to a few new people's and then I'll return back to yours if there's time. So we have a question about how to pronounce better and ladder. So I do have videos for, I believe, both of these words, but they're a good example of what's similar and what's different with spelling and sounds. So better has the red tent vowel, like in the word get, and you can use get better to match the vowels. That will be helpful for you. Double T in better makes a flap sound, and then we have the So you might think of it, if it helps you, as better, because we also naturally do the flap when there's two D's in the middle, like in ladder or better. This isn't actually a word, I don't think, but bedding is a word, for example. So I do have a video about bedding with T's and bedding with D's, same pronunciation. And then ladder, the letter A has the black cat vowel, ladder. And in the dictionary, you'll see this as a T. They may or may not put the flap on it. Probably they won't. And you'll see this as a D, but Americans pronounce those two both with the flap sound, so they'll be the same. The black cat vowel, you might try saying, for example, that ladder to match the vowels. And there's nothing different I would do with the spelling. I would write it just like this, ladder, because that follows the conventions for spelling. So the TTER and the DDER are the same. The vowels are different, and of course the initial consonants are different for those. Better and ladder. Thank you for that request. Let's look at, we have a question about the word talented while dropping the T sound. Okay, so we have a phenomenon in English for American speakers where we sometimes don't say the T when there's an NT. Not all the time, it's on certain conditions. If I did say this T sound, talented, I would want to use the same T I use at the start of words, t, with a little puff of air, talented. So I don't want to flap here like in better or ladder. I don't want talented. You can hear that doesn't sound quite right. If we do make a change in talented, it's that we just leave that T off entirely, and it sounds like talented, talented. He's very talented. He's a talented performer. In this word, I typically would use the T. I'm not sure why, because I definitely don't use it in words like internet. I tend to say that as internet. I guess maybe for me, talented, he's very talented. Maybe in some cases I would say it like talented. It's not wrong, and you will hear people say that, talented. But I tend to use a T there, talented. Okay, but now you've heard me say it with talented. You just want to be short on that end. He's very talented. The internet is very talented. That's not that sentence doesn't make any sense, but just to allow you to hear that word a few more times. All right, thank you for that request. Oh, he's asking to hear it slowly. Talented. But definitely I would never say it without the T. If I was saying the word slowly, I would say talented. If you're going to try to practice it, talented, you have to say it quickly. And even then, that word sounds a little bit off to me without the T. Okay. We have a question about the rule for CH and when it can sound like K. Can you tell me the rule or pattern, please? As far as I know, there's no pattern or rule for CH sounding like K, like in character. You're going to have to just look in the dictionary. If you see this for the CH, then it's a K sound. If you see this, it's the ch sound like cheese. Here, it's the K sound like character. There's probably some pattern that has to do with where the words came from in English, but there's not like a straightforward rule of these say ch and these say k. This ch sound is more common. So if you have to guess the ch sound. Otherwise, use a dictionary and look for the k or the ch symbols. Thank you for that question. Okay, we have, go back to the question about wipe down. I'm wiping down the board. So wipe down. We have the letter I says the I diphthong, following the spelling pattern of if there's a silent E, then the letter will often say its name. So the I diphthong is called I. That's how we pronounce that vowel letter name. And then down, the ow, letters OW say the ow diphthong in this word. Wipe down. So I would maybe write that like wipe. This is probably the easiest way to visualize wipe though. And down, ow. Again, I would probably not change the spelling because we often spell ow with OW. The only thing that's noteworthy about this wipe down is that I'm not saying wipe down. There's really no break there. As I link those, what happens is I close my lips for the P, but I don't release the air. Wipe down. I just go right to the D, wipe down, rather than wipe down. So you can just hold the lips closed for wipe and then release, wipe down. Open back up and your D comes out rather than wipe. I do have a video specifically talking about letter P, letter D, these stop sounds at the ends of words. So you might find that helpful if that's why you were asking about that particular phrase. But maybe it was just more the sounds in those words that you were asking about. Thank you for that question. Okay, let's take a few more and then we'll wrap up for today. We have a question about the word vagaries, whether or not you pronounce it with a G or a J sound. So in vagaries, it is a G sound, not vagaries, but vagaries. Like the word vague. Again, you can look in the dictionary for that, and if it is a J sound, you'll see this symbol. I mean a G sound, like letter G. If it's a J sound, you'll see this symbol for the J, like in judge. Yeah, great question. Thank you so much. Okay, we have a question about moving from the R to the L sound in quarrel, like in the word world. So in world, we kind of have a we kind of put a little bit of a schwa sound in there, like world. In quarrel. Yes, we do the same thing. So for quarrel, we had a quarrel. Am I spelling that correctly? I'm checking your question it looks wrong to me. So for quarrel, yeah, okay, that's the right spelling. Quarrel, we have the or sound, quar, and then same thing, because we're moving from the R to the L, we'll have a little dark L there, a little schwa sound, quarrel. Did they quarrel? It's easier, I think, in this word, not that it's an easy word, but you can see a letter representing that sound, quarrel, versus in world, it doesn't look like there should be anything between those two. It really just comes from how we say the L sound at the ends of words. So you can check out my video on final L, dark L, syllabic L, search on those on my channel, and you'll see help for those L sounds. If I have time, I'll also go back and put some timestamps in the comments and description for this video with some resources and links for other videos that might be helpful for you. You can also always leave comments on any of my videos with your questions or follow-ups, and I'll give you the link for something I mentioned in class to help you kind of go more in depth on specific topics. I also cover all of these topics for the sounds of English In our Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com, we go through each consonant sound, each vowel sound, talk about accent error patterns, spelling differences, how to say the sound correctly and easily, what words it's in. So it's a really good resource to build a strong foundation to pronounce any word you like in American English with confidence. That's our Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com. And all of our online courses are either free or available for under $2. So I do recommend those as a great resource to build your skills as you're working on difficult words like quarrel and world. Thank you for that request. Quarrel is a good one. I haven't talked about it. I do also have a video for the word squirrel, which is slightly different because it has a different first vowel, but it also talks about that earl combination in something that's spelled similarly to quarrel. All right. We have a question about the word unprecedented. Okay, so let's look at your word unprecedented. And you were specifically asking about the end of the word. So words that end with TED, we tend to say those unprecedented. Yeah, okay, so this one's different because it's an NT. The TED, if I'm saying something like weighted, this TED is going to sound like the word did because this T will be a flap and then we have to add a syllable. So when a word ends with TED or DED, it tends to be a did sound like weighted. In unprecedented, we're either going to do tid, unprecedented, with the same I sound like in did, but a little bit of a T with a puff of air, unprecedented. Or just similar to a word like wanted, I can either say that T, wanted, with a tid sound, or you'll hear people say wanted, we wanted it. They just leave that T off. So same thing can happen in unprecedented. They either might say unprecedented with a tid or unprecedented. So then it's going to sound more like nid at the end. Unprecedented. Dented. So I would say this one is probably a little clearer, tid, unprecedented. But if you're feeling like this is what you're mostly hearing, you can also try unprecedented. Yeah, so it's easier to practice on words like weighted and wanted. Wanted for the leaving the T off. But in this case, you need either a T, doesn't change to a D, not unprecedented, but unprecedented or unprecedented. Those are your two choices for NT words like that. Yeah, that was a great observation on your part, a really good word to talk about, and a good pattern to talk about. Thank you. Okay, let's take a few more questions and then we'll wrap up for today. We have a question about the word wrong. And the challenge for this viewer is the NG sound in wrong. So sometimes, depending on, we always for the NG sound say the sound with the back of the tongue lifting. We don't say that sound at the beginning of words, so it's unusual and hard to say it by itself. What you might find is that two errors tend to happen. People sometimes say an N, like ron, the tongue is lifting in the front, or they might say wrong or wrong. There's an extra k or g sound for that NG sound. So my video about the NG sound will help you correct either of those error patterns. And then when it comes to the wrong, ong, I often hear actually the opposite problem where people are trying to say on and it'll sound more like ong, or they're lifting too much in the back because the vowel is kind of far back there. So for wrong, I would just maybe try other words that have the ong combination, like long and strong. If you find you have a struggle with the NG on all of those, try a word like ring, ring. And if you can get NG there, ring, wrong. So trying to just feel that same lifting in the back. It can help actually to put a K sound on because it helps you get the NG position, like wrong, and then take your K back off, wrong, wrong, wrong. And that's where you should feel the tongue lifting. But do use my video for NG to help you with this sound. Without hearing you, it's hard for me to tell you exactly what's going wrong, but it might be the n or the extra sound there, or it might just be that combination of the ah vowel with the NG, in which case play around with your NG with other vowels and then come back to the ong, long, wrong, strong, etc. I hope that helps you. Thank you for that request. Great. We have a question about, do I have a video for the word legitimate? I might. I have so many videos now I can't remember for sure if I've covered a word, but why don't I cover it for you here this morning in case. So legitimate. I would say one thing that's challenging here is that looks like it should have an A sound like the word mate, but because the jit syllable is stressed, this is actually an I vowel or reduced vowel. So we would have legitimate. So all of our unstressed vowels except for our E are the I sound. So legit. You might say legitimate or legitimate. I'd probably say la with a schwa, but it doesn't matter too much for those unstressed reduced vowels. They can be somewhere in the I to range. Legitimate, legitimate, doesn't matter too much. The jit syllable is stressed, and here's an example of letter G saying the j sound. So I'll rewrite that with a J for you. That's how we spell it at the start of words sometimes, like jump or jet. Building this word from that stress syllable can be helpful. Legitimate, legitimate. The I's then again say the I sound, legit. And actually I'll rewrite this T. It is a flap, sounds more like a D. So legitimate. And then often you'll hear we don't say legitimate with a strong T at the end. We often just use a stop T there. Legitimate, legitimate. Yeah, and then if you're going to make it legitimately, again, a stopped T and adding the li, legitimately. Or illegitimately, illegitimately. We still stress on the j sound, we just add an ill at the start, illegitimately. Maybe some secondary stress on the ill because it's a prefix. Okay, probably got a little more than you bargained for there, but oftentimes if you struggle with a word like legitimate, then illegitimate, illegitimately, legitimately, those are also going to be challenging for you. So practice the rhythm of them and those sounds and just kind of build it into some phrases, and it should be helpful for you, I hope. Okay, wow, lots of great more questions today. I will take a few more and then I'll need to wrap up. If I don't get to your question, I'll be back again in 2 weeks on Saturday. Next week, we won't have a live class because I'll be unavailable, but we will have a longer class at this time. So I'll be covering some requests that came in previously for you. You can always leave requests in a comment on videos as well, and I'll add it to my list to cover in a word of the day, or I'll do probably some bonus classes in the next couple of weeks to also cover some more recent requests. Okay, so let's take a look and see. So I do have a video for consciousness, so I'll give you a link for that. I'll also show you that if you're on your, I can't show you, but if you're on your desktop and you're on our channel page, Speech Modification Seattle, if you use the search box that's on the channel page, it'll show you my videos related to that. Or if you're just searching on Google or on YouTube, you could type in the word like consciousness and then also type speech modification, and my video for that will come up. But I will try to go back and give you a link specifically to my video about conscious and consciousness because that's definitely a challenging word. So thank you for that request. I do also have a video for suggestion and suggested. Let's cover that briefly here for you though. For suggestion, We have second syllable stress, suggest. So we have two G's and one says J and one says G here. Sug says the G sound, so it starts with the G, sug. And then this letter G says the J sound. That's where our stress is, suggest. We have the red tent vowel, suggestion. And then in this case, the TI says the ch sound, suggestion, 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 gestion. I'm just trying to see if there's any t sound in there, but not really. Suggestion. So suggestion. And then for suggested, that's where our TED, I don't know if you were watching earlier in the class, but we were talking about how TED endings often say more like a did. So we would have suggested. So suggestion, that was the suggestion that I suggested. I do have videos about that, but that's a good word that's probably helpful for everybody watching today as well. So thank you for that suggestion. And if you want to go a little bit more in depth, again, you can search for, or I can give you a link for my longer video about those words. Okay, we have a question about the word cardboard. So cardboard is an example of a compound word where in these words we stress both syllables, but the primary stress is going to be on the first syllable. So it's not cardboard. We don't reduce that second syllable. Cardboard, we say a clear vowel in both, but we have a little more length and stress on the first syllable. The R in cardboard is the R diphthong. So like the word car. So you'll see cardboard. And then for board, it's like the same as this word board. Or I'll rewrite it here just with OR. So trying or, bore, board, cardboard. And what you'll notice is that we don't tend to say cardboard. These D's, again, are unreleased. So I go up to close my tongue off for the D, card, but then I just release into the B, cardboard. And depending on what happens after the D, the cardboard is, then you might hear the D, or the cardboard that, I'll use another stopped D. You can get more help for D at the ends of words and unreleased stop sounds at the ends of words in my video for that. Again, if I have time, I'll come back and put a link to that in the comments for this and in the description for this video so you can get more help for that. Thanks for that question. That was great. Okay. Okay, we have a question about the word bold, combination of the O and the L. So I do have a video that talks about whole, pole, stole, other words with O plus L. So I'll suggest checking that one out. But in O, if I'm going between the O and that dark L, thinking about it as having a little bit of a schwa sound and a gliding w sound might be helpful. So thinking about like owl, bowl, bold, bold. So it's not really two syllables. We go quickly through this, bold. But if you kind of do owl, it's going to help you connect those two vowel sounds, the O plus the L. And that's basically what my other video talks about. But again, I'll refer you to that one, that longer one. I'll give you a link for the comments. In the comments, you might find that to be helpful for you. It's definitely tricky for a lot of people. So yeah, definitely working on owl by itself and then putting it back into a word like bowl or bold will be helpful for you, I hope. Okay. Okay. And it's fine to ask about something I already have a video for. Don't worry about that. Absolutely. And it's also sometimes if you can't find my video for something, good to come to this class or to leave a comment on one of the videos because it's easy for me to find it and send it to you. I know sometimes when you're wading through a channel, it's hard to know where to find certain videos. So that's not a problem. Okay, and we have just a question about how to feel how to pronounce the word hangry. So this is a newer made-up word, but I think it might actually be in the dictionary by now, which we talk about someone is hangry when they haven't eaten, and so they're acting irritable and angry. It's a useful word because we all have that happen to us sometimes. So it is actually just like the word angry with an H sound. Angry, hangry. It's also like the word hang, like a hanger or hang something up with a re sound. So we have first syllable stress, the ah and the ng sound, hang, and then this ng is an example where we have an ng and a g sound. So unlike singer or ringer, where we just have the ng sound, we do have both ng and g here. So thinking about it like hangry. Don't be hangry with me. Or you need a snack, you're acting pretty hangry. Yeah, okay, that's a fun one. I like that word. Okay, I'm going to need to wrap up for today. Sorry I didn't get to everybody's questions. It was so many great questions today and so nice to see so many of you. Do return again in 2 weeks when we have our next live class. I will be out next Saturday because I'm going to be traveling, but I will have a longer video for you at this time covering some recent requests, so you can check that out. And leave your requests and comments for future Word of the Day videos as well, or we also have our names playlist, some other playlists where I cover different types of pronunciation. I'll just remind you one more time that I do have online courses on my website, speechmodification.com. A great course to start with is our Sounds of English course that builds up knowledge of all of the sounds of English. And then for some of you who are more advanced, we have our American Accent 6-week course, as well as our Real Talk course. Those look more at moving beyond pronunciation and into accent, reductions, how to sound fluent, using lots of everyday TV and media to help you with your accent. So do check those out on speechmodification.com, because all of the courses are either free or available for under $2, just so that they're a really easily accessible resource for all of you viewers. Thanks so much for attending this class. Also, the likes, the comments, the shares, and subscribing to the channel. It has really helped the channel grow, and I appreciate it very much. We also offer channel membership, so if you want to consider going a little bit more in depth, we have an additional class tomorrow morning for our channel members, just the same as this class, but a smaller group. And also channel members can ask their requests at any time throughout the week, and I'll cover them even if they can't make it to the class. So it's a great way to not have to wait so long for your requests. Check that out by clicking the join button, and you can see those options. Thanks so much for being here today, and it was a wonderful class. Great to see everyone. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye everyone. Thanks for a great class.